everyone again, back with All Things Black. I have a new guest here, Dr. JeffriAnne Wilder. Dr. Wilder is a doctorate level sociologist, a former professor at the University of North Florida, and an influential force in the field of colorism, diversity studies, and women's studies. Dr. Wilder is the author of Color Stories, Black Women and Colorism in the 21st Century. Dr. Wilder is also the author of other scholarly articles that can be found through a quick Google scholar search. You can also learn more about this influential lady at www.jeffrianne.com. Through this interview, we stand to learn a lot about colorism and Dr. Wilder's research in the field. Today, Dr. Wilder and I will discuss her book, Color Stories. I also do want to add that I was able to read this text because after reaching out, Dr. Wilder did send it to me, but please don't get carried away and blow up her inbox with book requests.
That's right.
I bring that up to point out Dr. Wilder's willingness to share her knowledge and information. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Wilder, and we are so excited that you took the time to speak with us today.
Well, thank you. I'm so excited to be a part of this conversation.
All right, so let's just jump right in. Okay, so in your book, you spoke about people being a little upset with you, or just they didn't understand why you would talk about colorism so openly in a class, or they want to know why. Can you speak more about this?
So people weren't just a little upset, they definitely felt a way about this, right? So we all know within the Black culture, community, our history, that colorism is something that we only talk about between us. And I was shining a light on an issue that does not make us look good. And that particularly this, in the 21st century, there's so many things that have happened to us as Black people that really that reinforces our need to stick together. And talking about colorism, for me, is not designed to bash our race per se, but it really is designed to highlight racism, because colorism is a part of racism, and to also highlight how something that was created by white patriarchal racist structures has really developed a mind of its own, if you will, and has become a force of nature within the Black community, so much so that people invoke colorism and they don't even know that they're doing it, right? By calling somebody yellow, or subconsciously saying, oh, you're pretty for a dark girl, or questioning someone's 3A hair type if it doesn't match up with a super light skin tone, right? Yeah. So we participate in colorism all the time. And I'm of the mind that, it's important for us to know this. And I'm a sociologist. So when I start talking about colorism, researching about colorism, publishing on colorism, there are a lot of Black people who pull me to the side, a lot of women, and try to check me because you shouldn't be doing this. And you're getting all these degrees in sociology, you should be putting us in a bad light. I disagree, right? So it was hard because my hair is relaxed. And I talk about in my book how someone said, you can't talk about colorism if you're not natural. I'm sorry, what? Okay, that in and of itself is colorism, right?
Yeah, I read that. I was like
how you, okay, whatever. So this idea that in order for me to even be a scholar of colorism, I need to be the purest form of Black, the most African I can possibly be. And it has nothing to do with my heart or my scholarship, but that has everything to do with how I look externally. So that means that I can't wear black tips on my nails. I have to be extremely Afrocentric. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's not who I am as a person, right? I have to have my hair a certain way, or, even when when I was dating my ex-husband, my students were like, dang, you dating a light-skinned man? That's crazy. Like, why are you doing that? People questioning my Blackness, right? And my commitment to this because of my personal life choices, which is crazy.
Yeah, when I read that in the book, I was like, what
does it matter?
Yeah. What does that have to do with the work?
It doesn't
And
have
and it's,
anything.
I think that a good if you do talk about colorism, like you don't like light skinned people, or you're
Right,
bashing them. So that's why it
right,
doesn't make sense that you would
right,
date a lighter skinned man, because that's
right,
that's bashing them.
right. And I became a traitor. Like
Yeah, yeah,
you're a traitor. You can't do that. Or I mean, it's just there's so many, and that's really what I did not anticipate. I didn't anticipate that at all. I didn't anticipate people coming for me as a Black woman on my choices of like who I dated or how I wore my hair or just how I carry myself as being a reflection of my ability to be a scholar of colorism, where I met no other scholars of colorism doing what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you're not even studying colorism. What do you care? You know what I mean? It was really honestly a way to deflect
yeah.
against the message, really. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So, can you speak about this quote from Mark Hill? It stated, "Skin color has more bearing on the lives of African American women than African American men."
I love that. So Mark Hill is a classic scholar of colorism, and his work in 2002, I believe, this is from 2001 or 2002, really was the start of us at the turn of the 21st century in the academic literature really engaging with this notion of gender colorism. So we've known for a long time that we know and understand that Black is beautiful, right? We know that resonates with us. But then also within broader society, Black is not beautiful, right? So in order to be considered beautiful within mainstream society, and then also within Black culture, you have to be the closest you can to be to white, right? So we're all Black, we can't be white. We know that, we get that. But there's only certain kinds of Black that are typically beautiful. So what that messaging does is that it impacts Black women in different ways than Black men. Because for Black men, it's actually the reverse, right? The darker the berry, the sweeter the juice. Everybody wants a tall chocolate brother, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Lord, right? That's awesome. But for women, it becomes collateral damage, right? Your skin tone becomes something that you actually that becomes transactional. Even if you yourself personally aren't using it in that manner, it becomes a commodity. And that's what Mark Hill talks about. It becomes this commodity that is transactional. It also becomes something that you barter, or some women barter in a competition, this perceived competition for mating, all these different things, right? And it really impacts women differently because, well, patriarchy, right? So that's the thing. So I really appreciate Mark Hill's work at the turn of the 2000s, even though we're almost 20 years into that, because it was the start of the academic literature. And of course, and in my book, I talk about sort of the periods of colorism literature and research, how things sort of transitioned. And we start to see this transition in the late 90s, in the 90s and 2000s, right? Okay, so that reminds me of like juvenile. Okay. But you start to see more academic conversations around how this impacts women differently.
Okay, all right. I would say you can definitely see how it impacts women differently, like in dating.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
it's kind of bizarre.
Yes. Well, I don't know if it's so bizarre. I think dating is bizarre. Like,
Yeah.
that's my personal. Why do we have to do that anyway? But it plays itself out in these situations that have very real implications, right? Because we kind of we're living in this like, people talk a lot about like body positivity. We're also living in this age of like Black positivity, where it's supposed to be like, we love all shades of Black and Black girl magic and Black girls rock, and all that stuff is important, and it's real, and it matters. But there's also this idea that there's there's levels to it, so to speak,
Yeah.
right? And the levels are distinguished by skin tone and hair. But see, hair is interesting now too, because you can grab you some 3A hair, 3B hair, it doesn't matter. You get you some hair.
Yeah,
You
hair.
can lighten your skin too. I mean, look at, we were talking about, some figureheads, female figureheads in the hip hop community earlier, right? So I think about Tiny, who went and who's already mixed and got her eyes done to be like ice blue. She went overseas to she had eye surgery to have her eye color changed to like an ice crystal blue. She's very, very blonde. She's super light, right?
I didn't see the blue.
Apparently her daughter, not like I'm just all things hip hop, but maybe a little bit. Her daughter, Zanique, right? That's her daughter's name.
Zanique. Mm-hmm.
Had it too, and then she had it reversed. Yeah. We might need to fact check that.
No, honestly, I believe it. that doesn't sound, no, that doesn't sound far off.
Well, and I think about this is another interesting conversation too, that colorism belongs in insert colorism here kind of thing, where you're seeing a lot of Black women with more money now and status who are having surgery. They're having cosmetic surgery, just like, I'm sure it's not on the same level as white women, but their plastic surgery is like, that's normal now. So people are getting their skin lightened. People are doing things to themselves to alter themselves to be more closer to white. And it's not funny because the white women are trying to be closer to black, whatever, right? That's definitely another chapter in my book, right? I need to write another chapter on.
Have you heard about the blackfishing?
Tell me about that.
Okay, so blackfishing is this thing people like
catfishing.
Close, yeah. People expose it on Twitter. There's like some women on Instagram who have a big following, and people thought they were Black because they had darkened their skin so much and used so much makeup.
I didn't know that was a term.
Yeah, blackfishing. So they had darkened their skin to the point where they looked like Black women. Yeah.
So we see it with the Kardashians. That's a whole nother story. We see that, and the lip fillers and all that. But the thing is like, it's just so, this is what I tell people all the time when, whenever I like introduce colorism to people, an audience who don't know about it, inevitably somebody will raise their hand and say, well, what about white women going tanning? The difference is it's not the same. White women who go tanning, white women on Instagram blackfishing or whatever, they don't really want to be Black in the sense of like what it comes with. You don't want what it comes with as a Black woman. You just want to look like Black woman because you think that's ideal. And the funny part is that, Blackness and being Black, a Black woman is not, it's not idolized on Black women. But if you have a non-Black woman who's looking like a Black woman, that's the ideal. We want a white woman who has a Black booty, has thick lips, has our features, but we really don't want them to be Black. We want them to be white. So it's a really interesting dynamic.
Yeah, I think that's true because that's true because when it happened, like there was actually men on Twitter that were like, I don't see what's wrong.
Caping.
Yeah, exactly. Get out. They're like, I don't see what's wrong with that. Y'all wear weave. I'm like, see, they would have left y'all behind.
Right.
They would have been left behind.
So who gets protected? Not the Black women.
No.
The white women.
Yeah.
And who's doing the caping? It's the Black men.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me right now? They're like, yeah, y'all wear weave. I'm like, okay.
It's not the same thing.
It's not even a bit of a comparison, but
you can put 38 inches of what kind of hair on a Black woman, can be blonde as whatever. She is never going to be at the level of a Kim Kardashian.
Nope.
Just ask Black China. She will never be on that same level because Black womanhood is only palatable if it's not on a Black woman. We don't want this. We don't want that. We want all of this and that on a white body. Anyway.
Yeah, because I'm about to start ranting.
So. I know, like, this is maddening.
So, Okay. All right. So, so our next question, is slavery the only way to explain colorism? Oftentimes when I ask this question about colorism in my interviews, why do you think people have negative attitudes? The answer is slavery. Although the effects of slavery and colonization can't be denied, we are pretty far removed from that. Is there a more updated answer to this?
Nope. So colorism is not something that is prevalent just in Black American communities. Colorism is pervasive across the globe, and in societies where slavery did not exist. So the more correct thing would be to say colonization and colonialist ideology. So European ideas, European colonizers taking space in non-European places and infiltrating colonist ideology, basically saying that whiteness is better, darkness is not. And then, you have the case of India, where this internalized caste system took place. Colonization, of course, happened in India as well. But, it's not just slavery. However, we're talking about colorism within the US context. Yes, slavery is the answer. So people kind of go back and forth. Is it, the colonization with slavery? Yes, but distinctively in the Black American tradition or history related to colorism, it is definitely slavery, because as a result of slavery, Black women's bodies were used and abused and violated, and by white men. And I don't care how many accounts you talk about. I'm not a historian, I'm a sociologist, right? But I don't care how many accounts you talk about, the sexual relationships between Black women and white men were more likely than not non-consensual, right? There were no love stories as we see on the ancestry.com commercials. That was no damn love story. Okay, that was rape and violence. Okay.
Yeah.
Those unions, that violence resulted in mixed children. Okay. The mixed children legally were not seen as white in American society. They were seen as Black. So we have the rule of the hypo descent, right? One drop rule.
Yeah.
One drop of Black makes you Black. That is unique only to the United States, because we see Brazil, we see other places in Latin America and the Caribbean where there is a fluid sort of categorization of people based upon color and not race. So in the United States, it's the only place where you've got all these different variations of skin tones and hair textures and facial features, and we're all still counted as Black, right? Even Barack Obama, who is mixed, right? America's first Black president, not America's first mixed president, right? Kamala Harris, who's running for president, Cory Booker, they're Black. They're not mixed, okay? So that is because of the legacy of the one drop rule that a lot of people can say is slowly changing. Yes, we have census where you can check more than one race, but I don't care. Still to this day, regardless of your white ancestry, you're still Black.
Yeah.
So in the US context, yes, slavery did that, right? And sort of subsequent classification. And if you go back and look at the census categories and how they've evolved over time, right? Go back as early as, I think, 1780, where Blacks were classified quadroon, octoroon, mulatto, Black. 4 different classifications, right? But you're still Black. Right. So I hope I'm answering your question.
No, that answered it. And what to your point about like people, you like can't even. So I have 2 points about that. One, you would if you are mixed with Black, it's considered like just very disrespectful, kind of, to even call yourself mixed. Like you're basically disrespecting the Black community to call yourself mixed.
Yeah.
And not only that, I was reading this article yesterday, and a girl in there said that she identifies as Black because, as a mixed person, because she feels like she would be being a traitor to Black people, and Black people have went through more, so she feels like she has to identify as Black. I'm just like, so we've also created this thing where you really can't, if you're mixed, it's not right for you to say.
Right. And that belongs squarely in the middle of the colorism conversation as well. And that's part of the reason why people gave me some, pushback for talking about colorism and researching in the way that I did, because that you're trading to the race. You cannot do that. There's a code, right?
Yeah.
I don't care how young you are. I don't care if you're a part of Generation Z, born in 2001, or if you were born in the 30s and you're part of the silent generation. The code is the same. It's shifted. Yeah, we know that Blackness has become much more fluid as we've progressed, but still the underlying current there is that you have allegiance to the race. That's probably one of the most probably the most salient qualities about Blackness is that we are connected to each other. There's tons of stuff to talk about Black people being connected to each other, family. I mean, even how we relate to one another. Hey sis, what's up? Right? That's family. And so in family, you don't betray each other, right? We may have our infighting and all that, but you're still supposed to pledge your allegiance to Blackness and pledge your allegiance to the race. And of course, that's changing and shifting, right? There are some people who have gotten so much money that they didn't even matter that they're Black, because the money talks louder than everything else. But for us, everyday people, it's still it's a requirement. We're obligated to do that.
Okay. What is white colorism?
So Lance Hannon, I think his name is Hannon, in 2015, maybe 2016, maybe early. It's been a minute since I touched this stuff. So
sometime in
the mid teens, right? Give or take. Lance Hannon wrote about and coined this term white colorism. So this is the reason why it's important to recognize that colorism happens internally between us and also externally. White people do it too, okay? And it's not a stretch, because white people are racist all the time. So if white people are racist towards us, why can't white people be colorist towards us as well? Meaning that favor and affinity, privilege extended to Black people on the part of whites because they're lighter skinned. And it's not necessarily always a conscious thing, right? Who gets promoted, who gets encouraged. We were just talking about this. Who gets encouraged for certain things? The likable Black, right? Who people feel more comfortable around, who we're less likely to clutch our purse at on a dark street at night. So white people participate in colorism in the same way that Black people participate in colorism. So white people are not off the hook in their participation of colorism. So that's what white colorism is.
When I read that term, I had thought about, so I'm doing this study, I told you about the YouTube videos. And so most of the people on there, when they talk about their preference in a man, they say, because it's mostly Black people who they ask. So they say, dark-skinned men, dark-skinned men, dark-skinned men. So I just found it so interesting that when it definitely matched up when she talked about white colorism. When they asked the white women, all of them, each white woman that they asked said light-skinned Black men. Each white woman that they asked. And one of them was like, she thinks she would make pretty babies.
I didn't even see it, but I know what they said, right?
The man was flattered. I was like, okay. But yeah, she said she thinks she would make prettier babies with them. But that's every white woman who was asked said light-skinned Black men. And I'm like, this is this thing about being closer to whiteness, safer. And when they also asked, it was maybe one or two white men. One of them that they asked, he said, light-skinned women as well. And he was saying, he literally said that they were closer to white. He said that. He said
more palatable.
So
yeah, it's it's crazy because obviously people aren't geneticists. You don't know what you're going to get when you mix. You don't know, right? And I talk about this in my book with my daughter. You know, my ex-husband is biracial. He's very fair, has green eyes. And when I got pregnant, people were just like, "Oh, your baby's gonna be so beautiful." You know, just kind of making all these forecasts about how light they thought she was gonna be and asking me. And I'm like, hell, I don't. Who's thinking about that? Like, who's thinking I want a healthy baby, right? And I can't remember if I wrote this in the book or not, but when I was pregnant, I would just rub my belly all the time, like, oh, I'm gonna have a brown baby just like mommy. And people laugh, like, oh, that's not possible. You're not gonna have a child that's the same complexion as you. Her father's half white. So when my daughter's born, of course, it's funny. My daughter's actually darker than me. We're very close, but you know how Black folks operate on shades, right?
Yeah.
She might be a shade darker than me, but same brown skin, right? And people were just absolutely just confused.
Yeah.
How's it happen? Like, how did you? Wow, your genes must be strong, right? My genes must be strong, but my genes are just overpowered his, 1/4 of white gene with the other 3/4 of Black. I mean, think about this.
Exactly.
What do we think we're gonna get? Right? I mean, the odds are probably that she was gonna be brown, right? Because she has one white grandparent, right? And then everybody else is Black. So, I mean, it would have been more unlikely for her to be light.
Right.
Duh. But people were just like, oh. And then now my daughter's almost 8. When people, I'm divorced, and so usually people see me and my daughter all the time. When her dad shows up and stuff, people are like, is he half white? I mean, people are just like confused at how do you have this father that looks like this and you look like that? It's crazy. It's really crazy.
Genetics. It's not just mom and.
Listen, this is like ninth grade stuff. We did this in ninth grade.
Right. Then y'all do the little boxes.
Box. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is what I'm talking about. One box is white, the other 3 Black. Come on.
Have you heard about the Prince family?
No.
Okay, so the Prince family is this popular YouTube couple. It's a like a darker to brown skin. We'll wrap it up in 5 minutes. It's a darker to brown skin Black man, and the woman, she's like Tiny's color. So, but I don't really know her except a little more white looking, and she has like green eyes. I can't really tell you her race though. She could be Black though. I don't know. But from what I've saw, I think she's mixed, maybe mixed with Black. Mm-hmm. So they had a baby, and so it went viral because they put up a video, and the woman was saying she thought the baby was gonna have pretty eyes, and
in the hospital, like she's in the
bed.
The hospital. Yes, I saw this crap.
Yes. So now she's in more hot water. I think it's just like for clout, but now she's in more hot water because she just put up a video last week where she basically did blackface to be a ghetto woman. So she she painted her face to a dark-skinned Black woman, and she changed her name to like Shaquana.
Sorry, that's probably. No, I'm gonna mute myself for a second.
Okay. So she changed her name to Shaquana, and or like Shaniqua, some more, I guess you'd say traditionally African American name, and then she put on like a blue wig and like a more urban outfit to trick her husband about and go undercover as a Uber driver. So I feel like she knew what she was doing, because at the beginning she's like, I don't want anybody to get offended, don't get offended, like being really extra dramatic about it. So about not getting offended, because I mean, who wouldn't get offended?
That's disgusting, but that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, some white women have license to do this and they think it's cute.
Yeah.
Let a Black woman do some stuff like that.
Yes. And it's still got
nobody's gonna like it.
It still got so many. Most of the people on YouTube were not saying stuff bad about it. It was on Twitter and Instagram where people were talking about it. But I guess since she looks so white and is partly white from what I've read, you know, it was okay. A lot of people found it funny. I'm like, where is the joke?
It's not funny because you know what the joke's on us as Black women.
Exactly.
The joke's on us. And that's really, you know, it's kind of like looping it back to Mark Hill's comment.
Right.
Black men certainly, just by way of being men, have a certain journey in this life in America that we as Black women do not have. I'm putting that out there on the table. I'm acknowledging that.
They do.
But they are men, okay, in a patriarchal society. I've gone to blows with other Black men about this when I say that Black women are at the bottom, right? Mm-hmm. And I think you know what I mean by that. It's just like this idea that there's so many things about Black women that people, you know, love and hate at the same time, right? Despise, they want, but then they hate it, right? If we're doing it, they steal from us. They try to, you know, jock our trends, everything how we are. But then at the same time, we are the most hated.
Yeah.
You know, we just don't have the same license and leverage to, you know, walk as freely. And then, you know, let's be honest, we're talking about police violence. Black women are the victims of police violence too. But just the fact that we know more names of Black men, we can spout off Jordan Davis, Tamir Rice, Mike Brown, Eric Garner. We can spot that off. But like, how many Black women can we spout off? And it's happening to Black women too. That in and of itself, it's all terrible, but that in and of itself lets us know how we aren't even paying attention to the experiences of Black women when they're dying too. You know, that's why the whole Say Her Name campaign
started.
You know, got big. Yeah.
It's nice talking to you.
Yes, it is. And I look forward to talking to you again. Have a good one.
I look forward to talking to you again. Have a good one.
Okay. Bye.